Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I've got another deck profile for you. This one I'm pretty excited about. This is a deck that you guys know I've been on and off of over the last couple of years. It's Code Talkers. Really cool deck in which we kind of get to mess around with just pretty much Cyber's good stuff. That's kind of what the deck pretty much is. You just kind of play all the best cyber stacks or cards in the game and kind of just come up with the best, most comprehensive Cyber's link strategy you can. Now, I also think it has some pretty interesting points into the metagame. It has some cool synergy with a couple of generic cards that are really good versus stuff like Kashtira. Kashtira seeming to be the most dangerous deck in the format. On top of that, being able to abuse certain things like Ibli is very strong as well, particularly versus stuff like Cash and even Branded as well, which are arguably just the two best decks in the game, which is really nice. Now, the downside is, even though we abuse Ibli, a lot of decks out there are playing stuff like Lingaribo right now. But fortunately, even if you give Ibli to a Cash player, even if they play Lingaribo, it still makes their hand awkward. It still makes it harder for them to play, and so we'll still take that at the end of the day. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Just want to skim through this here. There's also another new Link 1 that was revealed recently that looks pretty good. I think it just says if it's used for the Link summon of a Cyber's monster with 2300 or more attack, it just reborns itself. So that's a really nice extra tool here. We'll talk about that more when we get to the extra deck, but that's really the only card down the line I'm specifically waiting for. But let's get into it, starting off with normal summons here. 2 copies of Lady Debug. I don't want too many normal summons, so only 2 Debug. Still a really good card, still super searchable. Sometimes you can use it in your turn 1 combo and still be able to get one later on for a follow-up play, which is really nice. So yeah, 2 copies of her. For the mini coders, as I like to call them, 3 copies of Micro Coder. He is by far the best one. These guys allow themselves to be used as link material from the hand, and when they do, they gain an effect when they're sent, and it's only when they can only be used that way to make Code Talker specifically. But that's really cool because Coder searches any Signet spell or trap. There's a lot of really good ones. We're playing, I think, 3 really strong ones. And then Generator lets you foolish any Cyber's monster with, I think, 1200 or less attack, which would be your Dotscaper. That's why we have it here. And then Dotscaper reborns itself whenever it's sent to grave, so that's really good. And if this card's used on field, you can actually add any Cyber's monster with 1200 or less attack. So that's really solid. But yeah, that's it for the mini coders. For our other normal summon, Triple Ibli. Talked about this. I think this is really solid, this format. I know a lot of decks are going to be on Lingaribo, so they can kind of clear this card. But if you do play against something like Kashtira or Branded can't really afford to play that because their extra deck is so tight. And Kashtira, even if they play Lingaribo, they're stuck. They're still going to be stuck with a monster on field, so they have to have other ways to extend, which is really solid regardless. So I like this card, and also you also have ways to start playing without your normal summon, and if you do, you can normal summon this card later in your turn, and it just becomes a really powerful extender card at that point. So I don't even hate it, but we do want to open it at the end of the day. Moving on from there, small math lineup, triple copies of Circular, 1 Sigma, and 1 Addition. I'm with Addition because if you have to target your own monster, there's a possibility you could be in a very specific board state where if you only had Subtraction but not Addition, and you had a monster that didn't have 1000 attack points, you wouldn't be, I don't think you'd be able to use Subtraction, and therefore Addition's just more generically going to apply there. So yeah, gotta play it though. This is super basic lineup. Opening Circular is just so good. It's so powerful that I still like this engine. And also opening these guys is, these are just extenders. If you open them, they're just free extenders anyway. So not mad about opening them either, regardless. So you play 3 really powerful starters, 2 decent extenders, and then the 1 brick. So I think that's a pretty worthwhile engine. Then for a bunch of generic extenders just that come up throughout combos or just specific circumstances. Cyber's Converter, really good card. It just summons itself. You control all Cybers. 2 copies of Link Slayer. I like this card a lot. I almost want to play this at 3, but it just came down to space in the deck, and I wanted to fit a couple other cards in, so I cut 1. It's just red layer, right? If you control no monsters, special summon it. But it also has a really nice bonus effect where you can discard 1 or 2 cards from hand, target that many cards on the spell or traps on the field, and destroy them. That's quite good. Because you can threaten your opponent's back row before you start playing. That's stuff like potentially clearing a Kashtira Birth playing into a board, just already get it off up and out of there because you don't want to have to deal with the Birth. Solid. And then, you know, there's stuff like Labyrinth, there's stuff like other back row decks, or just even decks that aren't back row based but still play back row in some way. He's really good at baiting out Interruption without a normal summon. 2 copies of Parallel Exceed. This card is really good. Part of the combo when you make the Wind guy, you search this out and then you use it to get 2 more additional bodies out. And then 1 Gachiri at Ignister. This is an Earth Search target. It's good. It comes up when you already have access. When you go like debug to search your code generator for a certain line, then when you have your actual Earth Search off of Signet Codec, you go for Gachiri because you've already used the other main Earth target. So that is it for the Cybers monsters in the main. I think it's 21 monsters total. Not too bad. Feels pretty good to me. There are ways to cut down on it, but it probably includes just straight up cutting the MathMech engine out. But I really appreciate the power that engine adds to the deck, to be honest. So I don't know if I would necessarily go down that route. But the only other monster I play in the main deck is Triple Ash. This card is just too good not to play right now in the format. It feels like it's decent versus everything, but really good versus certain things like Branded. So I think you need to play it. Move to the spells. Signet spells, triple copies of Signet Codec, and triple copies of Signet Mining. These cards are intense and amazing. I love them. This is the single best card in Cyber's history. This is one of the best cards. This is a huge consistency piece. This can get circular to start your play, so you kind of just have 6 circular, 6 Ibly, 6 or 5 debug, whatever you want it to be. This card helps a lot with consistency. In fact, I almost wanted to play what's that card called? Oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called, where you banish a monster from hand, banish another monster from deck with 1 thing in common, and then search the 3rd. What is that card called? Small World, geez. I almost want to play Small World in the deck as well, but again, space was a little bit tight. I may still consider playing it as like a 2-of and play 42 instead of 40, but just because like Circular gets you so much value by himself that like just finding him early is like really solid, and like Mining's already getting him as well, but yeah, really cool. And then Codec, like literally just making a link to Cybers with this on the field is full combo. So that's why you have to like go ham on that. For the rest of the spells, pretty much just defensive cards, triple copies of enemy controller, 1 Change of Heart, and 1 Mind Control. There's an argument to not main these at all. But man, like it's a little bit too enticing to be able to pair one of these with Econ, to like take an opponent's monster with one of these, then tribute that monster to take a second monster from your opponent. And then because we're just playing like a link spam deck, we can just make like a generic link monster with you know, the monster you steal with Econ. It's crazy. You actually like, it's so powerful. Like take 2 monsters and still have a link body, like a link material body out of it, is pretty insane. Plus, you know, obviously the extra factors of Econ being able to be an interruption going first. Obviously this is the best one, so I max out on 3, not just because these are on 1, but because it's a little more versatile going first or going second. But I greatly appreciate it. This card, it's really, really strong. There's actually an argument to go ahead and swap the 2 copies of Mind Control and Change of Heart for the 2 copies of Small World I was talking about earlier, and just side those, and because I really think they should be in the side no matter what for this type of deck, and maybe even like Tactics / Thrust as well. Just as much take your opponent's shit and just use it as your own materials. Like one of the best ways this deck can make use of like generic side deck cards for sure. Finishing up with the traps though, triple copies of Imperm, you know, pairing this plus Ash being the only hand traps in the deck is fine with me, you know, especially when we still have like Econ and stuff on top of it. And then the in-engine trap cards, arguably just bricks, but this one's not that much of a brick because all you need to do is make like any Code Talker and this is live. It's a really powerful Omni Negate, and then Super Factorial. This one's the biggest brick in the deck for sure. In fact, it's arguably the only brick in the deck. It's really the only card you don't want to draw. Even Dotscaper is not bad because he's a decent normal summon in that regard. So Yeah, but this card's payoff is just too good. It's just a trick. It's just going to allow you to like trish your opponent on top of like the Omni Negate, probably on top of, you know, a firewall, at least one card, one bounce, and then we've also been probably drawing cards off of a Heat Soul as well. So really, really powerful interactions this board makes. You don't make like 6 plus interactions, but you do make a couple of really powerful interactions, and that's where the deck gets its value. All right, so that's it for the main deck. 40 there. Like I said, I think the only thing I was considering towards the end was maybe playing the 2 small worlds for the 2 take cards. But I did want more defensive cards. I felt like the 9 we have just didn't feel quite enough going second in a lot of scenarios. So I kind of liked having the 11. I felt that feels a little more comfortable to me. But let's get into the extra deck. So I play Lingaribo and Salamangreat Balinks. I'll be honest, this should probably just be 2 Lingaribo. It's just better. We don't play the field spell or anything for Salamangreat, so there's really like no benefit to playing Balinks over a second Lingaribo. I just only own one, so there you go. For the Link 2s, 1 regular Code Talker, 1 Code Talker inverted. This is really good for lines, being able to summon something like an Ibli or a Lady Debug or something from your hand later on if you had hard opened it or if you had searched it out throughout a combo, so it's really good. 2 copies of Slash Mage. I like the second one for the grind game. It means even if you like build a board and the whole board gets shredded, it means all you need to do is make a Splash Mage and you can kind of recover. Instead of having to get all the way to a transcode. Just makes it that much easier to recover on follow-up turns, so I like that a lot. And then 1 Update Jammer. This card is allows you to just OTK just by making access code, so definitely important to me. For the Link 3s, 2 copies of Transcode. Standard, right? Kind of same idea as the Splash Mages. You want to have the second one for follow-up just in case, but one of the best Link monsters ever, in my opinion, especially like Cyber support Link monsters. 1 Heat Soul. This card's really good. We're not taking as full advantage of this card as we could as far as like Senate Codec and stuff, because the only fire we play is the Mathmech edition, I believe, which is cool. Like if you can search it out, but not too relevant with that, but at least you still get to draw a card. And sometimes, like, if you can't go too far, sometimes you're just like, and on a board where you just co-link this with Firewall with like the set trap. So you got like an Omni Negate, you got a bounce, and you're drawing at least 2 cards. And if this lives longer, way more than that, and you just have to out advantage your opponent and win the game. And then 1 X Code Talker. This just is combo material. You make it with Codec up and you search Parallel Exceed, which is really good. Then for the rest, Link 4s, 1 Firewall, 1 access code. Not much else going on here. Firewall's your going first option that gives you at least a single bounce, if not a double bounce. And then access code, being able to just kill your opponent going second. Very, very easy. That's what scares so many people about these types of decks, is because, especially not only this, but Update Jammer also exists. Just making access code usually means like it's the game. If you don't have something to threaten the access codes directly, you probably just lost the game, which is crazy. And then the 2 Mathmech Exceeds. This is another reason to potentially look at cutting the Mathmech engine. But again, I just think the payoff, the interruption you get off of it is so strong that I personally wouldn't right now. But I understand wanting these extra 2 slots to mess around with more utility cards in the extra, you know, and not just playing essentially combo pieces, combo requirements that are, you know, more or less bricks in the extra deck. But still, I'm playing them here, at least for now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This deck's really cool. I highly recommend it. Is it like perfect this format? No, and I think specifically because the world kind of knows about Nightmare Corruptor Ibli right now being a potential card to be played in Kashtira, everybody's kind of got their eye on playing a Lingaribo anyway, but I don't think that necessarily means you know, our deck's getting crapped on. It just means that's not going to be as impactful. Where it, you know, if you also if you gave him Ibli but you went full combo, so you also ended on the Firewall bounce. You also have Heat Soul drawing you at least 1 or 2 cards. You have the Trap set, so you have an Omni Negate, and you have the Trishula effect of Super Factorial. I think you're going to be fine. I don't think we're getting cooked in most scenarios anyway, even if they have the Lingaribo to make you know, free value off of the Ibli we give our opponent. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not too mad about it. I really do think it has a cool little niche rogue slot in the format right now. I highly recommend it if you think this deck is cool to definitely go around and test with it. I'm not sure if these ratios are perfect or not. I have a little more testing to do to see if like any of these anything is a little bit, you know, just kind of the fat that needs to be trimmed or something to that effect. And then, you know, once I figure that out, you know, we can go from there. Also, I'll be keeping an eye out for that other Link one. When that comes out, I'll probably, instead of playing like the second Lingaribo, like I said, I'd probably just play that card. It just gives you even more free material for no reason, which I love. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm out of here for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear it. Your ideas on this list down below. I wanted to keep it consistent and at 40, but of course I'm just one person building these decks, so feel free to let me know down there any extra suggestions you have. But I'm out of here for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace.